back to the locker room. I'm Captain Paul. That's Fajardo. What's going on there, Fajardo?
Not much. Living another day.
We are back with part 2 of the Metro Division. We are going to be releasing these videos in rapid fire because we got to get these out. So let's get right into it without any further ado. One of our panelists' favorite teams of all time, the New York Rangers. So, how do you make this team, Jay? All right, let's get into it. New York Rangers. They are currently have $1 million in cap space. No LTIR used as of currently right now. They have a couple draft picks next season. Obviously, one of those is a conditional. And that was the Lundqvist deal we already covered in this channel. If you want to hear about that trade, I will leave a link down below in the description and maybe on the screen. Mm-hmm. The Rangers made a great run last season. They went really deep, really young team. You know, you see a lot of youth. You know, you have your highest paid player being Panarin. Zibanejad underneath him. Panarin's making $11 million a year, only 30 years old, so he's got about 4 more years left on that deal, which I think for a guy his caliber, when healthy, he's easily worth that cap hit. And the good part about this deal is it's his early 30s where it ends, not his back end of the 30s. So, you know, that's a key thing, though. We see a lot of these are huge deals. They don't look pretty in the last few years. Yeah. Then you got the franchise defenseman and Adam Fox, young guy making $9.5 million. You got Jacob Trouba, the captain, making $8 million. You know, and overall, if you look, a lot of cheap young players, but solid players. A lot of quality here. And, you know, you got arguably the best goaltender in the league, if not top 3, in Igor. But let's get down, before I get ahead of myself, let's get into the depth charts like we always do here on the show. Cap Friendly's always not accurate with the depth chart, but this is how they slot them. We go a discussion about it, see what lines we think would work better. So, right here they have Zibanejad, Kreider, and Gaudreau.
Yeah. I told you it was looking kind of funky.
That's a weird one. Panarin, Trocheck, and Kravtsov. So they have him making the roster, obviously. And then you have Lafreniere, Hedl, and Kaku.
Kid line.
Yeah, the kid line. And they look good in the playoffs, so I think you can see some growth there. And then you got, you know, Blyes, Carpenter, and Reeves. You know, solid, okay third line. You got Lindgren and Fox. You have Miller and Trouba, Hayek and Schneider. Keandre Miller's a big boy. I actually like him a lot. I think he'll be able to develop into a really good defenseman. And, you know, it's and goaltender. You have your franchise goaltender. That is like one of the key pieces to find if you want to be a champion. So before we go into more detail here, like, what do you see? How do you feel about this lineup? Where do you think it will change in actual day-to-day actual lineups here? Give me your thoughts there, Alex. You're the Rangers wizard.
All right. So as far as their top line, I can see them having Gaudreau there just to start off the season, and then trying these lines out. Kravtsov, probably a smart idea having him along Panarin, just for obviously language barriers and comfortability. Also, you know, Panarin's one of those guys that likes to feed, whereas they're looking to Kravtsov to be more of a finisher. And since Trocheck really isn't a finisher like that, I think that this is kind of like, you know, like it's a smart move to try to make this line complete that way. Obviously, the kid line, they don't want to touch. They want to keep that line growing together. Obviously, they did show some flashes of being a great line during the playoffs. You know, the fourth line, obviously, hardworking guys, blue-collar guys that should help shut teams down, be a little more on the physical side. Mm-hmm. Now, on that same token, don't be surprised if Kravtsov is finding it difficult early in the season for them to move Kravtsov down to possibly left wing or right wing on the fourth line, bringing Gaudreau down to the second line, and bringing Sammy Blais up to that first line. Sammy Blaze is a very underrated player when it comes to his hand skill. I mean, he's a big guy, first of all, but on top of that, he has a really good skill set and is very strong on the puck. His stick handling abilities are really good, and they were evident before he took that injury in the preseason last year, where now retired Subban had hit him into the board, and he tore his ACL, I think it was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's got really good hands. I see him having an opportunity to move up if anybody gets weak in their position further up, and Goudreau being the guy for faceoffs. Like, even though it says that Goudreau's going to be the right winger, I expect him to take faceoffs over Zibanejad in a lot of instances, just because he is the best faceoff guy that the Rangers have history wise, and you know, he's been around the block for quite some time.
Well, with Sammy Baez, I'll say this: like, he was a really good in the AHL. One of those guys that I think he does have some high-end talent to him with some hands. You know, he only had 4 points in 14 games, but I'm looking into his statistics. I mean, when he played with the Blues and had 36 games, he had 8 goals, 7 assists for 15 points. And season before that, 40 games played, 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points. And, you know, he seems like a very, very, like a really good AHLer. Seems like probably a bottom 6 NHLer as of right now. If maybe he can figure it out. Maybe it's like a Frank Vetrano situation. He kind of, you know, finally finds his game. But, I mean, overall, looking at this forward group, I see a lot of potential. I think I would agree with you. Goudreau would be probably taking face-offs in the defensive zone over Zibanejad. But, you know, Zibanejad and Kreider, extremely good together, offensive dynamos. I do like having Trocheck on the second line. Really good defensive center. You have Panarin and Kravtsov, the Russian brothers. You know, I think that's smart. You get a veteran like Panarin to make him feel comfortable on the right side. A young guy that was kind of a malcontent last season did not report to Hartford. So you should try to, like, if you want to, you know, see some value off that 9th overall pick in 2018, you know, put him with a guy like that and he'll bury some pucks, I believe. You know, I think there's some talent there. And then the third line for the Rangers to me is like, will the kid line take another step? Lafreniere, people are already writing him off. He's only 20 years old. You have Hedl, only 23, feels way longer, but, you know, it looked like he came into his own, especially in the playoffs. And then Kaku at the only 21, you know, it doesn't seem like it's been clicking with him at the NHL level. He's very inconsistent. You know, you have Lafreniere with 31 points in 79 games, Hedl with 67 games played, 22 points, and then 18 points in 43 games for Kaku. I mean, I think this has to be another year, another jump up. You know, they should be challenging that second or first line for productive scoring chances. Like, being on that line, they're going to have some favorable matchups. I don't think anyone would say Lafreniere, Hedl, or Kaku lack any skill. I just think they need to find their game at the NHL level. And then, you know, the fourth line, that's a solid fourth line. You know, to me, Ryan Reeves is a guy. Does he play every night? Probably not, but you know, he's a solid fourth liner to me. He's big, tough. He'll get in your face, get in the mix. But you know, offensively, these are guys that I think have. If the young kids break out, they could actually be the best offense in the league. Because Lafreniere, Hedl, and Kaku, they will dictate how far this team goes, in my opinion. I mean, you got these veteran guys, and they're productive. I mean, these guys, even if the kids struggle, I still think they'll be a really good team. But if these kids actually develop and hit that next stride, they're going to be a dangerous team. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I like the forward group. I think there's a lot of youth there and a lot of promise. Anything else to say before we get into the defenseman?
Nope. Let's talk my favorite side.
All right. Let's talk defense. We got Ryan Lidgren. Excuse me. Adam Fox. You know, Adam Fox has 74 points in 78 games. I hope he realizes this isn't a video game. So
No, keep
But
playing like it's a video game, bro. Keep doing what you do.
absolutely phenomenal and dominant numbers. He did struggle at times though in the postseason. I mean, his best attribute is his offense, but there was times where he just got completely caught and he pinched in the wrong situations. But he's a young defenseman, so I'm hoping it's a learning experience for him. So he kind of figures out like when's the right time is and when's a bad time, because the regular season is completely different than the postseason. But I mean, you can't question this guy's an elite level player, and he's only 24. Keandre Miller, Jacob Trouba. Trouba, former Winnipeg Jet, brings us stability back there. Has some offensive upside. He had 39 points in 81 games. But Keandre Miller, big dude, 20 points in 82 games. You know, he plays a physical style, and I think Keandre Miller in a couple of years will be a top pairing defenseman. I think you could threaten it now, but I think 22, I don't want to jump the gun. But this is one of your guys that will probably become one of your cornerstones. I mean, I know Adam Fox has looked at that guy, and he is, but you need some thunder to that lightning, and that's what Keandre Miller is going to give this Rangers team. The only concern is if he kills it. I mean, he is an RFA, right? So might have to get paid a bit. And I don't know how that's going to fit under the cap situation for the Rangers. And then you got the.
I figured
Go
out.
ahead.
I'd pay him. That guy is going to be the future of this defensive core.
And before we get into it, then we got Hayek and Schneider rounding out the bottom pair. You know, looked like a decent pairing. Schneider's not bad.
I don't like it. I'll tell you.
You don't like it?
No. No offense to Hayek. I mean, Schneider, he's good. He's coming along really well. He's picked up a lot from Tuber. They call him Baby Tubes on the ice. But Hayek, he is my biggest concern. I don't like him there. He's kind of flatlined for me. Like, he got to this point early in his career, so he's 24 now. Like around 21, 22, he hit the same point he's at now. And I haven't seen anything drastically improved or progress shown from that time to now. And I feel like he's still the same player. He's still going to make the same mistakes. And I hope I'm wrong on this, but honestly, that's going to cost us. I'm hoping that someone like Zach Jones gets it together and takes the opportunity when given, hopefully later on in the season or something. But I really don't have too much high hope for Hayek. I really do think that he's the weakest link in our defense. And I think that we have a few other guys. I mean, Zach Jones is a healthy scratch, but I think that he's the guy. I think that Zach Jones just needs to maybe figure out one or two things to take that step in. Maybe a quarter of the way into the season, maybe midway through the season. But Zach Jones is probably going to be the guy to replace him within the season.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out, because they brought Jared Tenorti in camp, right? And he's a big guy, 6'6", 30. I actually watched him play for the Bruins. Not going to wow you. Not much offensive upside at all. But, he'll bring a physical presence. He's like a good seventh defenseman, /6 guy. Can play some spot games, kind of play that minute. And I think having a guy like that will kind of help round it out a bit, because I think it's important you get some veteran leadership back there, because, dude, Tenorti's only 30, and he'd be the old man on that D-core. And that's the only problem I see with the Rangers. It's just so much youth. Like, I mean, like I said, Adam Fox even last year struggled in the postseason at times, and I just think of some of it's just youth. Not saying they're not good, not saying some of these guys won't reach elite level. Some are already at elite level. But Hayek, I mean, I can understand your frustrations. I mean, he didn't play many minutes last season. Time on ice is very, very little. But maybe that Zach Jones steps up, or maybe they kind of do a platoon thing, what some teams do, where you have a guy in and out of the rotation, you ride the hot hand. I mean, if you keep Jones, I mean, like, in my opinion, can Jones be optioned down to Hartford?
I think he can be. I think that they're holding him because
he's waivers exempt. So,
yeah. Honestly, listen. Last year we had Tenorti. Tenorti, Jones, Lundqvist, and Hayek, all kind of rotating that same spot, including Schneider. But Schneider solidified himself and said, like, I'm not going anywhere. And then it was really the rotation of Jones, Tenorti, and Hayek in that one spot. And they never really got clear. That's when they ended up picking up Braun off of waivers, I think it was, or a trade from the Bruins. He filled in that number 6 role. But how you call it? Yeah, these guys have kind of like had their chance as far as like Hayek and Tenorti. Tenorti is definitely going to be the 7th guy. If someone gets injured, he's the one they're going to expect to step in. But I really feel that the position that Hayek has is a position that is made for Zach Jones to steal. It's really going to come down to that. Again, unless Hayek shows me something different, which so far in the preseason he has not. If he shows me something different, maybe there is hope. But in my opinion, from everything I've seen to this point, there's been no change, no progress. He's kind of stuck there. And I see progress happening with Jones. And if he clears that up, he can easily take the job.
Well, Jones has been electric at the AHL level. And I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, I just think he needs time. Some guys need time. So maybe just he's waivers exempt, right? So maybe you kind of send him down, let him play games. I think a guy like him needs to play, right? Sitting on a bench like Tenorti is who he is, right? Just throw him in the fucking press box, and then when you need him, you play him. But it is your bottom 3. It's your bottom pairing defenseman, excuse me. I think your top 2 are really good. Your top 4 defensemen are really, really good. So I think it can help mitigate some of this in the regular season until they find that guy they feel like can fit with Brandon Schneider. And, I just think adjustments it will just take adjustments. I say you guys are at above average decor still, though, just because you have offensive production mixed in with some defensive toughness. Like Miller and Trouba are big boys. That's a rough line to play against if you try to break in the zone. So, goaltenders. You have Igor Shesterkin. 53 games played, 2.07 goals against, 935 save percentage. Like I said, this is not a video game. 36 wins, 13 losses. Absolutely dominant. Was the best goalie in the league last year. I could see him taking that from Vasilevsky, the throne. And, absolutely dominant. I like what I see from him. He brings everything that you want in a franchise goaltender. He's only 26, which is very young for a goaltender to reach this level. He's just going to be entering his prime. I could see another decade of dominance. And just like New York, man, they went from Richter to Lundqvist to Shesterkin. They're very good at finding great goaltenders, so it's not really surprising. And then they brought in Yaroslav Halak. Again, I'm very familiar with him. 17 games played, 2.94 goals against, and 903 save percentage, 4 wins, 7 losses. He was kind of in a very weird situation with the Vancouver Canucks, it was last season, where they didn't want to play him, so they didn't have to pay him. It was weird. It was very weird at the beginning of the season, so I think it got a little toxic over there. Yeah. But, Halak is what he is. I actually think this is really good, if I'm going to be blunt. Because you get a guy over there that knows his role at this point. He's 37 years old. He's not pushing to be a starter. I think that's the problem they had with Georgiev. Not saying Georgiev wasn't a good locker room guy, but you get a guy that just knows his role at this point in his career. He's a backup. Shesterkin, you're going to ride 50 or 60 games, and you just need someone that gives him a break and opens up the bench for him during the intermission. So I'm fine with Halak being there. He's a solid backup goaltender. With his age, we see a little bit more decline. Maybe, I know with the Bruins, his last season with the Bruins, you did start to see a little bit dip in the direction of his ability, but still a solid NHL goaltender that can get you a win any night. Just because of Shesterkin, their goaltending's elite. Yeah. And, I like this team a lot. I think there's got a lot of potential, oodles and oodles of it. Your thoughts?
I definitely agree with you. They have the potential to do great things, right? Not only because I'm a fan, but statistically, look at all the players that they have up front. They have guys that can step in on the role. I mean, if you look at their training camp, they have VZ. VZ's a solidified third, fourth liner, depending on the line he's playing with. He can score. He can score. He can play very good defensively on the penalty kill, stuff like that. So he's one of those guys that's looking for someone to stumble in the out of all the forwards, so that he can get his opportunity and try to shine. Again, with the defenseman, you have that open window. I think that if Hayek stumbles, Zach Jones will be right there, and if he stumbles, Tenorti will just say, "Okay, I'll just come back and play."
Yep.
So there's a lot of good, healthy competition within the team, and that's what you really need when you're trying to build a team that's going to challenge for the Stanley Cup. You need a team that not only competes on the ice against every other team, but competes within itself to push each other to get to new limits and get higher, to higher levels. And the Rangers definitely have that going on right now, and that's great to see because it's been a long time coming for them. They started their rebuild about 4 years ago, and here we are.
I mean, absolutely. I think it's a great way that the way they built this team. It's very admiring. Like a lot of teams around the league should take notice how they develop and kind of bring in these youth guys, mixture them with talent because they're just so damn good. So they finished second behind Carolina last season. 82 games played, obviously. 52 wins, 24 losses, 6 overtime losses for 110 points. Where do you think they will finish? Or should I start this since I'm not a Rangers fan?
Yeah, you start the non-bias.
All right. I'm looking at this division. It's competitive. I mean, I think the Flyers are a better team right now, but no, they're going to finish first in the Metro. I think that kid line is going to take a step in the right direction. I mean, I loved what I saw from them in the playoffs. I mean, Lafreniere played like a friggin' big boy. That's what you want. You want skill. I think that there's so much potential in Shesterkin. Halak's a solid backup. The young defense core is just going to keep getting better and better. So, yeah, I think the Rangers finish first. I don't see any other team knocking them out of that spot. So, yeah, I'm saying first in the division. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I'm going to have to
no bias.
No bias. No, but I do agree. I do think that because they are so youthful and they are so talented, they have the talent to compete against Washington and Pittsburgh, but they're youthful, so they have better legs in the long run. I definitely think they're coming in first. And on top of that, I think they have the right mentality, right? And I think that's what carried them so far last season was the mentality that they took into the season, which is like, listen, bad things are going to happen. You got to play it for the next play. You can't get hung over what happened, right? And that's one good part of the mentality. But the run that they went on last year gives them encouragement and confidence. At the same time, the pain of losing in the finals, that pain will also give them another catalyst on why to improve and get better. And when you have so many different ways and so many different catalysts propelling a team to greatness or to be on top of the league to that level, then that's just like the right recipe to have a huge season, a good team, good players that all push and propel each other to get to that next level. And I think that the Rangers are there, like just right on the door of getting to the point where they can challenge for the Stanley Cup. And not only this year, like in the longevity of it because of the youth of so many of these players.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of we're playing a very good team, excellent team. And it's going to be very fun to see them kind of go to new heights next season.